Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate that very much. You know, it's so fascinating how facts don't seem to matter sometimes on the floor. The only administration that has ever released anything on the Epstein files is the Trump administration. And last night, House Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee released over 33,000 files. Now, they say that 97% of it had already been released. 33,000 files, that's a lot of files. Let's take that 97 and say it's accurate for argument, and for argument only. That means that of 33,000 files, 3% of that is new. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, I will tell you, as I was going through clips this morning, I noticed one conservative news source that said, Eureka, the missing minute surrounding Epstein's death is in the material that's been released. There's been a lot of controversy about that. A lot of people want to know about it. Well, there it is. So more and more information is coming out, and it's coming out because of the Trump administration and because of the House Oversight and Investigation Committee. But somehow, if we don't adhere to the exact demands of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, we're not doing it right. And I submit to you, Mr. Speaker, that the House Oversight and Investigations Committee is doing it right. They're going through it. And as I pointed out in my opening, Mr. Speaker, if they decide to use one of the limited areas that they could do a redaction, they have to explain why. And if the administration doesn't turn over some information, if they redact information before sending it to the House, they have to explain why. And of course, some of the information you want to protect, Mr. Speaker, is information related to victims that has not yet been in the press. Why would we want to take young women who were victims of Epstein and his colleagues, and they don't want to have their name in the press? Why would we suddenly expose them to that? Of course, we don't want to do that. So there have to be some limited areas where redactions have to occur, but all of that has to be explained. And then they bring up the president's comments this morning about a hoax and are trying to mislead, in my opinion, some are trying to mislead the American people into thinking that the president said that Epstein and the investigation was a hoax. That's not what he said. If you look at what he said, it was the controversy over the Epstein files that was a hoax, because they've been releasing more data than any other administration. And I say that because the Biden administration had all this information, and they didn't release it. They had 4 years. They could have released it all. Didn't choose to do it. And now my colleagues on the other side of the aisle somehow want to claim it's a conspiracy by Trump to hide information that was in the hands of their party's president, and their party's DOJ was in their hands, and they didn't release it. But somehow it's our fault, Mr. Speaker. It's the Republicans' fault that the Biden administration didn't do what they now claim that the Trump administration should be doing. It's hard to understand that logic, but somehow we are at fault, Mr. Speaker, for them not doing the job that they think we should have made their president do. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And then, of course, we get to all the consternation about this J6 committee. This is an outgrowth of an investigation that started as a part of House admin. I served on the subcommittee that was doing that investigation, and it's really interesting. That group, and I was a part of it, found that there was more than 1 terabyte of missing data. Based on the inventory of the digest data and statements from Chairman Thompson, there should have been 4 terabytes turned over, and there were only 3. That's equivalent to 6.5 million document pages as PDFs or Office files, 500 hours of high-definition video, or 250,000 photos. The depositions were not filed properly, or they weren't filed at all and archived as they are supposed to be, and as the rule that set up the prior committee said they were supposed to be there. I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, that as a former member of this preceding group. We're just trying to get the data that's missing. We're trying to make sure we put all the information on the table. We want the files released that were out there. We want to find that missing terabyte of information. Some of it has been recovered, but not all of it. And that work needs to continue. Further, the House Admin Subcommittee didn't have the power to subpoena records. And it is necessary, and I would submit to you, Mr. Speaker, it is necessary just to get all the information out. And as I said last night to my colleagues, as a person who loves history and has a history degree, we need to get all the documents on the table, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and let history determine what occurred on that day. There's no point in trying to hide it. And if I don't understand why my colleagues on the other side want to hide a terabyte. A fourth of what the prior committee did was never properly turned over to the House. That information belongs to the House and to the people of the United States. It does not belong hidden somewhere in a hidden drawer or destroyed. And unfortunately, because of that lack of turning over the records in a proper manner to the House, we have to continue the work that was not done by the previous Democrat-controlled. I know they had 2 Republicans on it, but they weren't the members picked by the House Republicans. And it wasn't in the numbers usually allocated or originally called for a select committee. We're going to do it right. We're going to put the information on the table, and we're going to let the American people make a judgment now, and historians to be able to argue over what happened on that day as time moves forward. And with that, I reserve the remainder of my time.
Gentleman reserves his time.